The 2010 Access Kenya Africa Concours d'Elegance was not only a milestone in its own right, but was one of celebration, recording in spectacular fashion a string of celebrations. The most prominent was the celebration of the 40th anniversary of the Alfa Romeo Owners Club, who have organized the Concours for the past 4 decades. The event was also part of the worldwide centenary celebrations of the legendary Alfa Romeo marque, which during its 100-year history has produced some of the most advanced, most desirable and most beautiful of sports cars in the world. Added to this were the Access Kenya Group, the sponsors of the Concours, who were celebrating their 10th anniversary, and to make the event really special, introduced cutting-edge high-tech innovations.
For the first time in East Africa and most likely most of Sub-Saharan Africa, we as Access Kenya are going to be introducing online ticket sales. It's revolutionary for Kenya. It's definitely a first for motorsports in Africa. And it's
Over the years, Concours winners have included a fascinating range of superbly presented cars and motorcycles that have driven standards to such a high level that the event is listed on the FIM calendar.
It means that the Concours will be a calendar event worldwide. Every time we have the Concours, there will be no other similar event in the world.
This recognition has attracted foreign competition, which in 2010 included 16 entries from outside Kenya, with participants from Uganda, Tanzania, Great Britain and South Africa. The foreigners are always strong contenders, especially the Vintage Motorcycle Club of South Africa, who this year had entered 2 motorcycles, including a 1915 Indian Model B.
Is it a difficult bike to ride?
Very difficult. Usually the accelerator's on the right-hand side. This has got the advancing retard on the right-hand side. The accelerator's on the left-hand side. It's got a hand clutch on the left-hand side, and it's got the brake on the right-hand side.
For the first time in 10 years, the Concours had attracted a motorcycle entry from England, a 1972 Triumph Hurricane flown to Kenya courtesy of British Airways.
I was astonished that I won the sponsorship, but what attracted me was taking part in such a brilliant event in Africa. I want to win something. I want to go back to Britain and say, look what I won.
With such superb machines being entered by the foreigners, the locals were only too aware that the competition would be tense, but remained confident about their chances.
Who do you think is going to be your biggest
competitor? Mainly that Indian from South Africa. It's lovely. I mean,
South Africans have brought good bikes this time, but that also doesn't make a difference because Concours is something we see a lot of things. You can't say you bring an older bike and you're going to win the show.
The annual Concours d'Elegance is held at Kenya's horse race track, located on the outskirts of Nairobi. A befitting venue for such a prestigious event, with spectators appropriately dressed for the occasion. As the cars and motorcycles waited for the event to begin, the time was spent cleaning and polishing towards achieving perfection. On the countdown to the start, competitors were briefed on the flow of the event, before the chief judge introduced the title sponsor to the judges, explaining their expertise in the different categories they would be inspecting. The drums and trumpets of the Starehe Boys Band made for an impressive opening, signaling the start of the 2010 Access Kenya Africa Concours d'Elegance. The first car down the line was equally impressive, a massive 4.2-litre Ford F250 4x4. It was competing in the utility class, which comprised an unusual variety of vehicles, including a 1946 Willys Jeep, a 52-year-old Dodge, and an open Mini Moke, which had been rebuilt from the chassis up.
Got a 1300cc end.
The oldest car in the class was this 1942 Chevrolet tow truck. After a hard working life, it was not in Concours condition, but the owner was unconcerned, just content to have the opportunity to put it on display.
I actually inherited it from a friend of my granddad, and here it is, fully operational, everything's original.
Is this one owner?
One owner, since 1942.
Winning the utility class and taking the early lead in the competition was this 20-year-old Land Rover Defender, which had been rebuilt after years in the bush. The judging process was a rigorous one, commencing with a climb up the Total ramp, which for some was not achieved. Here, the judges inspected the condition of the underpan, especially for leaks. The most points at stake were at the external finish check, where the paint and chrome work came under scrutiny. Next was the interior judging station, where the upholstery, carpets, dashboard and boot were thoroughly checked. The engine bay is often overlooked by car owners, but not at the Concours. Judges were on the lookout for the overall cleanliness, condition of the wiring and for any leakages. The judging process did not take originality into account, but any car not able to drive under its own power incurred a penalty of 10 points. The final judging station was a roadworthiness check, where the indicators, lights, horn and windscreen wipers all gained points if they worked. On top of all this, bonus points were awarded for age. The older the car, the more points. This 1950 Fiat 500, for instance, gained 40 points for being 60 years old. The motorcycle judging was held separate from the cars in what is usually the horse parade ring.